Hi, everybody. Welcome to another edition of the Zulu 24 podcast. We are still homeless, which explains why we are outside, and you can hear the birds chirping, the gnats buzzing, and the mosquitoes biting. Today on this episode, I've got Anthony from Antec Airsoft Studios and also Jordan from Zulu Outdoor, and we've had the rare opportunity, rare certainly right now, to have three of the B.O.S.S units from RDX, and we've played with them for about a week. And so today we're going to talk about that. Say hello, everybody.
Hello.
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 So the B.O.S.S unit.
The coolest thing to come to Airsoft in the last 10 years?
Well, let's explain. Okay, so for anybody who's not aware of the B.O.S.S unit and you've been living under a rock for the past 8 years, it's taken a while to come out. We've been in talks with RDX to kind of bring them to the United States. We got 3 units. And basically you put propane, MAP gas, or actually even green gas, which we learned.
We did find that out now.
We learned that yesterday. And it creates an audible report every time you shoot your airsoft gun.
That is supposed to sound like a gunshot.
Yeah, it's close. It's like a 22.
Yeah, it's somewhere between a 22 and like a 9. Like, it's not as loud as a 9, but it's not quite a 22.
Yeah.
I think it should be stated that the three of us have been waiting for this for 8 years.
Oh, absolutely.
Oh,
yeah.
We didn't just find out about this now.
No.
This product was attempted in the U.S. market 8 years ago. I don't know what the actual problem was as far as it not kind of falling through. I don't know if it was because the California fields are scared of weapons and the sound of weapons, or if that airsoft community at the time just wasn't really interested in having that sound effect or not. But for whatever reason, it didn't pan out. And then they just kind of shifted their focus on the New Zealand government. And now it's here again.
Yeah.
And I think we can thank Jono and Jono. I think we can thank Jono and Jono for the
shout out
connection.
To Jono and Jono from Operation Armored Fury out in New Zealand. So if you ever stumble your way to New Zealand, go check them out.
Yeah, they had, in our initial conversation with them pre-recording the podcast, like when we were doing the test runs, they brought up the B.O.S.S system, and they're just like, "Oh yeah, we have the B.O.S.S system. Like, RDX is a New Zealand company." And I remember you and I were just like, "How do we get it?
Yeah,
we need it now."
Yeah. Those things are wild. So, but basically, we've all had it for a week, 2 weeks, I guess.
2 weeks.
2 weeks now.
Yeah.
We've been playing with them pretty heavily. If you've been playing out at the field, you've definitely heard them going off. I know like 100 people came up and test fired my gun.
Yeah, pretty much everyone that's been here and has seen it or heard it asked to shoot it. So at this point, like, a large group of customers have already gotten hands-on time with it. It's so fun. I can't describe it enough. It's so fun to use.
And the best part is that you can't have one. We're gatekeeping. Right, Jordan?
No,
No?
not at all.
We're not gatekeeping?
Quite the opposite.
Quite the opposite.
Literally the opposite. Yeah, that's exactly what I said we wouldn't be.
So I'm going to be installing more of these.
We'll get there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We'll get there.
Yes, you are.
Yeah.
Nice.
We'll get there in due time.
Cool.
But anyway, I'd like to dive into each of our experiences with the B.O.S.S units themselves, and also just playing with them, playing games with them, messing around with them.
I ran blank fire one time, and that was at Benghazi. And that was one of the funnest airsoft experiences I had, just because gun go boom. It's very loud, very immersive. So having that on my 416 and still being able to shoot BBs while I have that loud bang was really freaking cool. Everybody from people I was shooting at to people that were right next to me while we were in a firefight, all of them were just like, "What?" it adds a whole other layer of realism to the game, and it also makes you have to consider different things, tactically speaking. Like, we could very easily just give everybody away if we're sneaking around in the woods if we choose to fire. So now that decision to actually fire, we have to think about that more. And
I don't think about that. I just fire. Immersions, baby.
We spent so much time making our guns as quiet as we can possibly make it with the Kythera and putting fun stuff on the end of it to make it really, really quiet. And now we're just like, nope, redacted.
I've been down both roads. Loud and proud is better.
It's a lot of fun with the noise. I get what you're saying there because, like, you're right. We did spend the last 2+ years trying to make our Kytheras and our AEGs as quiet as physically possible so we can snoop and poop in the woods. And it's fun. And it's a great time. However, when you have the B.O.S. system, like Dave said over the weekend, it does kind of trigger that reaction where people immediately go to duck and cover. So now you can overwhelm who you're shooting at, even if you're not putting BBs downrange, because that ambiance is there, much like blank fire. And that works really cool. I've done a lot of blank fire events too. This is so much better. Yes, it's not as loud. You don't get the shell casings ejecting out of the side, but you do get that noise and that kinetic feedback that makes it to where, if you want, we can sneak around the woods for like 20 minutes. And then when we do finally get the jump on those guys, it's going to be 3 to 4 B.O.S. units just going off simultaneously for probably 500 rounds. Because it doesn't matter if you fired 1 or 500. They already know you're there. Just keep shooting.
It's fun.
It's so fun.
I'm not saying that it's like not. I'm not saying that we have to think differently as like a con. It just like, simply put, it just razzles things up. It's loud. It's fun. And it also gives your gun a little bit of recoil too, which is just another added little piece of realism. It's really nice on the Kythera because that has that trigger break and reset. So in addition to that trigger break and reset, there's that little bit of bounce.
Yeah.
And the other night we put the muzzle flash smoke can on it.
The Smoky Wolf tracer unit that also does put out that little bit of the puff of smoke every time you shoot. So like, just to talk on that for a minute, I did test that out last Sunday, and I came back to Dave, and I remember saying, I know our initial thoughts were going to be that it was gimmicky and kind of only for the end user. I didn't notice it while I was using it, but everyone else did. The amount of people that came up to me and were like, that was really cool. I saw the flash. I saw the puff of smoke. That added to it. I have a sneaking suspicion that because the B.O.S. unit does give you that kinetic feedback and that audible feedback, that's so sensory overwhelming that I didn't even notice it. Maybe if I play without it, without the B.O.S. system, I'll notice the can.
So you and I were going through the tree line. I was a little bit in front of you. I took contact, immediately like sat on my butt because it was the only thing I could do, and just started blasting forward. And then I heard you behind me.
Oh, I dumped like 200 rounds.
Yeah, like dumping over. So then I felt comfortable enough to like pull back to your position, and as I was pulling back, I could see the Smoky Wolf doing its thing, and then the B.O.S. unit doing its thing, and it was from an airsoft standpoint, it was the coolest freaking thing I've ever seen. Like, you got muzzle flash, smoke, plus the noise. It's
a cool wombo combo.
Oh man, they were born for each other.
And I was recording for that, so I'm going to put that clip on scene, and I can actually show it to you later. I have it on my phone.
Oh, right on. Yeah. It was crazy, man. And I mean, and that brings everything, like, that's kind of full circle, right? So like the B.O.S. unit creates immersion and ambiance, right? Doesn't fire projectiles. It doesn't really even have a barrel, right? So completely unregulated by the ATF, by the way. Bing, bang, bong.
Shameless plug.
Yep. So it's just there for your immersions, right? Now, and I said this during our meeting the other night. I was like, I have never once ever been immersed in an airsoft game. Literally 0 times have I been like, oh, I am the Galactic Ranger that's,
Here
going
to slay
to
the dragon.
I am commander.
Exactly, right? Like at the end of the day, as soon as you pull the trigger the first time and it's like, meow, you're like, oh, yep, it's an airsoft game. Like, I've never truly been immersed. Benghazi was close because we had the blank fire, but like still, it's just an airsoft game. As soon as I put the B.O.S. unit on and started playing with this, in my brain, when I think about like the different times that we were in contact or whatever, my brain inserts shells ejecting from my gun because the noise, the feedback from the little bit of recoil you get, I was completely immersed. I was firing a gun. You can't hear your airsoft gun mechanics working, so all you hear is the bang every time you pull the trigger. Yeah. This is an open play, full field conquest at Zulu, a field I've played 999 million times. I know where every leaf is on this field, but yet somehow just by adding that, I was instantly immersed. Like, to go back to where you were giving me cover fire, like I was comforted. It's like, well, it's like when you hear an airsoft gun going meow 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 meow. You don't have a lot of like You're like,
Not
I know he's
overwhelmed.
giving me cover fire, but cover fire in Airsoft has to be extremely accurate to be effective, right? But with that B.O.S. system going off, I was like, yeah, he's got me covered. I like no qualms. I was just like, yeah, he's laying. Hey, let's go, let's move. I was actually immersed for the very first time, and I told you this before we were setting up. I was like, this is the only thing that's ever come out in Airsoft where it has reset my love for Airsoft back to day one.
Yeah.
Like, Airsoft has got a lot of good things about it. It's got a lot of negative things about it. This is, if you're feeling like you're kind of burned out with Airsoft, put this thing on your gun.
Oh, yeah.
Play a couple games.
Like I said in the beginning, this is exactly what I wanted Airsoft to be like since I was 13. Like, you want your gun to be loud, have the recoil, almost be like shooting a real gun. We can't shoot real guns at each other, really. And you want to have that immersive factor. Yeah. Do I love the look of an M203? Not really. But does it make the game 10 times, if not 100 times better? Absolutely.
And not just for you using it, but for the other people as well. Because them getting shot at by it, they have this sense of like, I'm not safe. And why would anybody want to pay to have that experience? But it's like, that is what you're paying for, like you feel like you're in combat, you're in combat. They're shooting at you. You're keeping your head down. You're like, this is freaking intense. My next move matters because of.
Well, I started asking customers that, like, our regular customers that we've become like super friendly with, playing against them on the field on Sunday, like during that CQB ShamWow game, I went up to some of them and I'm like, hey, how was that? Like, how was it being shot at by it? And they're like, honestly, that was pretty dope. Like, I liked that. That was cool. So, like, even from the player perspective, it's much like the helicopter or the mortar. Even if you're not the person using it, it adds to everyone else's experience as a whole.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I don't even know, like, this is no bullshit, not shameless plug. This is not me simping for RDX or the B.O.S. unit or anything. I don't know that I would ever play Airsoft again without this thing on my gun. And that is a no bullshit fucking opinion.
I get it.
Like,
I feel that.
It changes the game that much. And I've been doing this for well over a decade, and it literally reset me back to day one when I discovered Airsoft and was like super hyped about it. I am super hyped for the weekend to come up so I can just use this freaking gun. Like fuck running a business. I mean, I want to go play.
Much like I said
shit.
when we were setting up, and I was like, usually if it's a Saturday and I'm not reffing, I'm like, shit, I kind of wish I was reffing. No, I'm excited. I want to go play on Saturday now. Like, I'm glad I took the weekend off.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's pretty dope. And the nice part, too, is if you have enough cables, you could rig it up to all your guns. And
well, that's kind of the nice part. Because
quickly take the B.O.S. unit and just go from gun to gun. So
it does come with 2 cables so that you could, let's just say most average airsofters have 2 guns. They have a primary gun they love to use, and they have a backup gun. When you get the B.O.S. unit, it comes with 2 cables, so in theory, you can have it wired up to both of your normal, regular use airsoft guns. Obviously, not like the meme guns that you use once every, 10 to 12 months. But the 2 that you regularly use, there's a cable for each, so you can switch it back and forth.
But I run an AK. Well, they're working on, if it's not done yet.
There's photos of it.
Yeah.
There's photos of it. They have the AK.
There's at least one prototype done of an AK version.
Yep.
And we can say that because they have the product photos on their website.
That's right. Okay.
Yeah.
I wasn't sure how much we could.
Yeah, I mean, we could say that there's a functional prototype that they've showed photos of.
Right on.
So
now it's like, what can we do for a SCAR? What can we do for an F2000? That would make me like the F2000.
You could put this on anything.
Yeah. I mean, technically, you could put it on a 249. Like, you could take the M2 or the M203 version and you could put it on a Stoner. Like, it's just going to look like a grenade launcher on a machine gun. So, a little ridiculous. But do you want it to sound like that? Yeah.
Yeah. Like, right now, I think for all intents and purposes, it's still an early product insofar as they don't have much reason to justify investing to making it take a bunch of different form factors. So they took the most commonly used form factor, and it works really well. As far as the technology is concerned, how it works, that is solid. If this is something that picks up in popularity, I don't see any reason why they wouldn't make it take other form factors and be kosher for different platforms and stuff.
Yeah, I mean, much like some of our friends had already asked if, can there be a 320 version? Maybe down the road. But the incentive right now for them is they want to get these out to the masses. So they're not going to make 5 different shapes and sizes. They're going to make one really good one that works really well, and they're going to push that product out so that people actually get to use it and actually, understand what it does and then build the popularity of it. So maybe one day, maybe there will be a 320 or the SCAR EGLM. But for now, M203 and maybe an AK down the road.
I mean, all those other launchers, too, are essentially just the same thing.
They're the same thing, just
so,
a different shape.
I'm sure the open
They wouldn't
source
have to
community.
change.
It wouldn't have to change much.
I'm sure like the open source 3D printing community can probably make
you could probably make
an
it look
outfit
like
for
something.
it.
Yeah, I was going to say, I don't know how much you could 3D print. I mean, there is an actual explosion happening in there, so I don't know how much.
You don't
could
replace all that stuff.
Yeah.
You just make it up.
furniture.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But much like the conversations we've had with RDX in terms of the actual design of the unit, with the current production, I don't know if they're going to say, hey, let's make it into a different shape right now.
Yeah, no, they're not.
No, definitely not. That would be dumb. That'd be dumb business wise.
Yeah, it wouldn't be smart.
Yeah.
But what they have done, aside from this form factor so far, is pretty cool. Can we talk about that?
However, we always said we would be honest with everybody, and so we got to talk about some of the malfunctions that we had. My personal unit,
As well as mine.
shredded. There's like a seal, like a main seal on the backside of the
So I can
blast
do some
chamber.
close-up
Actually,
shots.
Anthony's got the old seal in. So Jordan and I both shredded this seal, this orange seal. Come to find out,
Mine's starting to shred a little bit too.
okay, so come to find out, that's the cold weather seal. It's made out of silicon. And also in New Zealand, it's wintertime.
That's why they shipped.
So that's why they
weather
shipped with the
ones.
cold weather seal. There is a regular seal. It's a black seal. And Jordan's got it on his gun right now. And I have it on mine. And that, zero issues with that. And we have fired
A lot.
many rounds out of them. So yeah, if we just realized that was a cold weather seal, then
Yeah, we probably
Probably.
could have prevented those failures.
Yeah.
It's good that it happened because that furthered the conversation that we had with RDX. However, also from destroying both of those seals, we did come to realize how much maintenance you need to do in terms of cleaning.
yeah,
Because like my unit was gross on the inside. Like I actually needed to.
whatever, we're just gonna have to deal with it.
Yeah.
So like with mine, when we finally took mine apart, realized how dirty it really was. It's not just as simple as lubricate it and put some grease on the O-ring. You do need to clean it. So we had to clean out the buffer, had to clean out the front cap, actually had to clean out underneath the O-ring because when mine shredded, there were chunks of O-ring everywhere. So because of that, yeah, there's a bit of wind. There's a lot more maintenance than we initially thought. Also, then when we put mine back together, I was having the gas wasn't mixing properly with the air, and I was actually having a slight flame pop out of my unit. It took us almost 12 hours to realize you actually have to turn the gas down because you do need the proper mix of gas to air so that the air accelerates the combustion. Once I turned mine down to 30% gas, it was perfect.
Yeah, and they give you the gas adjustment right on the sides. So,
Yeah.
They're simple and actually really durable.
yeah.
You know,
it's a
you have
very
to clean it
durable
like
system.
anything.
Well,
And
it's just like it's actually burning gas inside the front part of that, so you're going to get carbon buildup and all that stuff. So, I mean, I have not done a deep clean like Jordan has, and mine is still working fine. I can, if I had to guesstimate the amount of shots I probably have, it's over 5,000, and it's fine. In terms of lubing that seal, though, that you're going to have to keep an eye on. I think, like for instance, it's wind. Stop it! We're trying to film. If I'm just going to ignore the wind.
let's do it outside.
Yeah, we're homeless. This is how it works. If I was going to go to like say a Milsom West or something, I would lube it obviously before the game, and then depending on what happened, like usually like Friday night you get into a fight. Saturday during the day is usually pretty lackluster. There's not much going on, so like you'd probably pop it open and re-lube it again when you had the time, and then maybe right before the big battle on Sunday. It's not that big of a deal. You just carry a little bit. We've been using Tech T, a little thing of Tech T, and bring a couple of the seals with you. And
Yeah, I don't
be
see you
fine.
needing to change the seal during the game unless you have like a catastrophic failure.
Yeah.
And I don't see you needing to do like a full deep clean of the actual unit. Because to
no.
be fair, by the time we got to the point of like my unit needed a deep clean, 5 or 6,000 rounds through it. So yeah, if you're gonna openly or use it aggressively during open play, probably gonna have to clean it. For a game like Milsim West, I don't foresee you needing to like vigorously clean it in the middle of the game. At the end, yeah, unless some catastrophic failure happens or because that buffer system is cycling, that you're like laying prone on the ground having a very niche 1% airsoft situation and something gets jammed inside of it, then maybe.
I can see there being failures in like dusty environments.
Yeah, there could be.
Like Panthera for Benghazi was super dusty.
Yeah, or potentially like out on the West Coast where they're more sandy environments, you could have an issue of sand getting into the unit. But even then, like, that's only something we're going to find out over time.
Sure. But it seems, I mean, honestly, it seems that they're freaking pretty robust. And it just requires maintenance just like everything else. And
not a lot of maintenance.
No.
It's easier than cleaning a gas pistol.
Well, and they even said, too, if you use green gas, it's got that silicone element, and that'll help lube, like, the innards.
Yeah, that I think after we run the systems dry, which also we found out that hole underneath on the bottom of your handguard is actually the gas release valve. Didn't know that one until last night.
Yeah.
If we did want to drain our systems and put green gas in it, we could try that and see, because there could be a noise difference between green gas and MAP gas. I don't think there's going to be.
Hey, speaking of gas, have you ever run out yet?
Nope.
I haven't run out. I think we ran out once while we were installing them and testing them, because we didn't fill them all the way and we fired it a lot. But
like Saturday night when I was having the issues with mine, where I was over-gassing the system entirely, I did run out of gas testing that.
Yeah.
But like filling it Sunday morning to play, I still haven't filled it since then, and I played 4 games Sunday.
Yeah. I filled mine Sunday morning, actually, and then didn't touch it.
Yeah.
It still has gas in it now. Like
that's like the number one question I've been getting from people. Like, how many shots do you get out of it? And it's advertised as what?
So the true answer is we don't know, right?
Yeah.
All I can say is that I've played multiple days and never once have I run out of gas on the field. I've actually never run out.
Yeah.
I've just like
topped up
like afterwards. So maybe that's something we have to do, is just freaking burn out a unit or
Well, I was trying to do it Sunday. That's why I was like, hey, I filled my unit and I'm not filling it until it runs out.
Oh, so you're still on the same charge?
Uh-huh.
Oh, shit. Okay.
Now, obviously, temperature dependent, and also probably the frequency of which you pull the trigger. Much like with a gas gun, the faster you pull it, the quicker you could run out of gas. But I also have a sneaking suspicion that, because I referenced before that I turned mine down to what I'm going to call 30% because it's a 3 out of 10 on the dial, I'm not going to run out as quickly as somebody that has their unit on 6 or 7.
Yeah.
Because I have a higher air to gas ratio in my unit.
I don't know. I mean, I would go out on a limb even right now without knowing, what the shot count really is. I think you could do an entire Milsim West probably on one fill, and that's...
Yeah. Like, I would assume, based off of the current projections from what we're seeing.
Yeah.
Yeah, as long as the temperature's favorable.
Sure.
If it's one of those cold games like what we dealt with in early April where it was 25 degrees, probably not.
Yeah.
But for a game like Anthony and I had in the middle of May where it was 90 degrees during the day and like 70 degrees at night, yeah, I think one fill would have been fine. Well, maybe not for the tempo of that game, but
either way, I don't care. I'll bring a tub of Tech Tea and another gas kit.
Yeah.
That is like nothing compared to the rest of your packing
list. Take
list.
one Cliff Bar out of your Milsim West truck and put a thing of Tech Tea in, a gas kit.
It's only 40 hours. You don't need food.
When I take it down to Iron Horse later on this month, I'm gonna.
Well, that's gonna be a real test.
Yeah, I'm gonna try to keep an eye on it.
Yeah, because like AMS, you do have a higher op tempo for a longer period of time.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
And you are shooting exponentially more than you would at a Milsim West game.
Yeah.
So you could potentially put way more rounds on it.
Well, I'm gonna keep track of my mags and just every time I reload all of my mags,
just like give a rough estimate of how much you shot.
Yeah.
What are the odds of event producers not allowing this just because of how loud it is? Like, what are the odds that if this is an actual health concern for hearing, what are the odds that they will just opt to ban it instead of requiring ear pro?
Then I would have to ask them to kindly lift their skirts up so
I agree. I mean, but
No. So in all reality, any producer that allows tag grenades
Should allow this.
should allow this. This is not as loud as a tag grenade going off. And the concerns might be, oh, well, inside of buildings. If you're allowing players to throw tags inside of buildings, the overpressure and the noise from that is far more violent than these. Not saying that these aren't loud. They are.
But they
But
don't
it's
have that concussive force.
Yeah, it's just a totally different experience. Like, it's akin to putting an amplifier like on a saw,
But way louder.
but like 4 or 5 times louder.
Yeah.
Whereas a tag grenade is like 50 to 60 times louder. You know what I mean? It's also a different frequency. Like
It's not as bassy as a tag grenade,
no.
but also in terms of like, I have fired a lot of 5.56 blanks. I've fired a lot of 308 blanks. Even behind the gun, you get a concussive force still with those Hollywood style blanks.
Yeah.
That, like standing next to you shooting it in the shop, yes, hearing protection, but I'm not feeling that concussive force. It's not the same kind of overpressure and, what you would feel if a grenade went off next to you. Like, we've had a metric ton of tag grenades go off next to us in a stairwell.
Yeah.
That was bad. This is not nearly that.
No.
it's more annoying than it is painful.
I
Like,
wouldn't even say annoying.
well, when you were working on yours and I just kept shooting mine in the shop, you were getting pretty annoyed.
Yeah, that's because it's that moment where it's like, hey, I'm in the middle of trying to work on my gun so it could work, and you're standing over me like, look how cool mine is. Mine works so well.
All right, for context, we found out we could bump fire this, and we were just having a blast.
You were the kid on
You were
Christmas that
having
got
a blast.
Spider-Man.
Yeah.
You were.
Well, me and
Yes, as I'm trying to like hear if my unit is actually still sparking and making the click, and you're just like, let me rip off 50 shots out of the B.O.S.S system. Thank you. I'm trying to hear my unit. It wasn't annoying.
he liked it.
It wasn't annoying being next to your B.O.S. unit. It was annoying because you were doing it.
Yeah. But yeah, I mean, in terms of like producers and everything, they just need to experience it. It's so hard to describe. Like, it's loud, but it's not violent. I don't know how to describe it.
I mean, that's pretty spot on.
Yeah. Like I'm comfortable with it here at Zulu.
Yeah.
Like, and we've been ripping.
Yes, we have.
And we've had no complaints from the neighbors or anything, and so
Which
I mean,
honestly surprised.
yeah, boggles my mind.
Yeah, what I did notice about it is it's very loud when you're near it, but it dissipates really well. So, like from far, like at the end of the driveway, hearing it go off, like I left on Sunday and I heard it going off on the field, and I had to like intentionally listen for it.
Yeah.
So it's nice. It's not going to disturb the neighbors as much, but when you're on the field with it, you're like,
But it's still noticeable because, like, the first day we got them, when you guys were fooling around with them, a couple of our friends and I were back over by African, and we heard it rip. And I was like, oh, they must have gotten the B.O.S. unit done. And then I checked my phone, and it's like, oh, Dave just sent me a video of the B.O.S. unit firing. We need to go. And it's like, so I could still hear it from all the way out there, but it wasn't like, oh my God, that's really loud. Like, no, you could hear it.
on Saturday I joined the game late. I was like, all right, I gotta find Dave and Jordan. And I heard bah, 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 bah. I was like, they're over there.
Yeah, it's actually
Yeah, you're never going to have a hard time finding your friend if they have a B.O.S. unit.
yeah.
Well, if everybody has a B.O.S. unit, then
It's gonna sound like Afghanistan.
I can't wait for the day when there's like a dozen people on the field that have a B.O.S. unit and they're spread out amongst both teams, because that's the chaos I want. That's the chaos.
Oh,
I
it's going
want
to be
when I
great.
play.
Yeah.
I mean, much like we talked to RDX and they were like, we finally experienced what it's like to play against the B.O.S. unit.
Yeah.
The creation that we made, we finally experienced having somebody on the other team using it while we were playing Airsoft, because RDX does play Airsoft, and they openly said, they're like, that was honestly super cool.
Yeah. They've created it, man.
Yeah.
What was the first? What was like your first time ever hearing or seeing the B.O.S. unit? For me, it was the Spartan 11 GW video.
Oh, I'd have to say the Airsoftology video, him shooting it next to the school bus at the that ran.
Yeah,
field in
I think
California.
that's the one I saw
Yeah,
too.
he's wearing like a flannel and an airframe, and he just shoots. He's just like, this is so cool.
Yeah.
After that, I was like, oh, I need to know what this is.
And I was hooked on that, not actually hearing it. You know what I mean? Like, because through video, these things.
No, but you knew.
Yeah, but these video, like any video, is never going to give it justice. It just can't. But I saw what it was, and I was just like, wow, like that's going to be sweet. And then 8 years later.
Well,
I
like
mean-
when you watch like contour footage from like Ukraine and they start shooting, it like distorts the camera, and the B.O.S. unit kind of distorts it in a similar way. So it makes the gameplay footage really cool.
The TikTok reels are gonna go wild.
People were already convinced that one Airsoft Alphonse video was
real.
was real and in Ukraine.
Oh god.
So you add this to it.
I mean, but just to circle back, like, also I feel like for the last 8 years, every time the B.O.S. units come up in conversation, Dave has been the one who's just like, I want it so badly.
Oh yeah.
Like,
I have been actively watching their Facebook page because that's all they had. I think that's still all they have.
yeah,
For freaking 8 years, and that was a year ago.
I remember. Yeah, it had to be August of last year.
Year ago, they made an announcement, so I immediately like signed up on their little like you could like pre-sign up to get the emails and all this stuff, and like every week I was like checking like, come on, when's it coming out? And then we had the Jono and Jono
'cause that was right
podcast, and
around
they
August,
put us in
too.
contact with Shane and Mark over at RDX, and the rest is history.
People still post YouTube comments on their videos like, when is this coming out? Or like,
Yes,
Yeah.
it's been months, I guess it's not coming out. They're like salty, but there's good news.
well, RDX is very reserved in they're like, yeah, it's sweet, and we'd love for everybody to have it. They're just a little nervous to bring it to the U.S. like because of their experience last time with whatever it may have been, West Coast guns are bad type shit, or maybe Airsoft just wasn't there yet. I'm not sure. I'm not sure if Milsim West was a thing
8 years ago.
when RDX first demoed their shit.
Yes, but that
was it just West Coast?
It was just starting to make its way east.
Yeah.
So 8 years ago, that would have been 2016. That was when I did my first Milsim West.
So the market for this may not have existed yet. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So maybe back then, everybody was just like, it's neat, but like, like where am I ever going to be able to use it? Now there's a place where, we don't know. Josh Warren can do whatever he wants with that, but there's potentially a place where this fits in seamlessly. Like,
Yeah.
Holy cow.
Because just from that perspective, the cons of doing blank fire, besides the overwhelming one of you need to have the firearm to begin with,
Yeah.
in the last 4 years, the price for blanks has gone exponentially higher and higher and higher, much like we've dealt with real ammo. So like even me looking at going to Milsim West games more and more now, I don't want to do blanks because of the price.
Are blanks more expensive than live?
They're about the same.
Oh, man.
Yeah. So like I'm not super cool with spending $500 to $600 for blanks for the weekend at Milsim West. But with this, a can of map gas is $14. Like,
Yeah.
and the three of us, it took 2 weeks of playing with it a lot to go through one can of map gas.
Yeah.
So the price per round, we'll say, is way cheaper.
And you still get to hit people with
And you
BBs.
still get to shoot people with
You're still
BBs.
effective. Yeah, you
You're
don't have to
still
be like,
still effective.
you don't have
That's
to
the
be
most
like, you got to
frustrating
react to my blank fire. No, they'll react to your BBs hitting them.
I'm pretty sure with the muzzle flash device, we can convince people that it is blank fire.
Like I said, when he was giving me cover fire, and briefly I like looked back just to see where he was and where I was going to go, and you get the noise of the B.O.S. unit with the muzzle flash and the smoke coming out. It was just like, oh my god! Like
I will say, so Sunday night, like every airsofter that wears a camera, I went home and watched my own helmet camera footage.
absolutely.
There was one moment where I was like, okay, that needs to be a clip. It was in the 2-story building next to the mosque, firing out the window with the curtain on it still. Because the curtain was still there, you see the muzzle flash on the wall.
Yeah.
And the smoke coming out of the barrel as the B.O.S. system cycling. I'm like, okay, that's dope.
That's
Yeah.
really dope. That is really dope.
Touches my tism in a special spot.
Oh, yeah.
It's freaking so good, dude. And I know we sound like we're just out here shilling, but like,
Are we showing?
we can't express. I can't. I don't know about you guys. I can't express how much more excited for Airsoft I am now than I've ever been in the past 10 years. Like I get burnt out. I run a field, you know what I mean? So Airsoft is literally my life, Monday through Friday. And then
Airsoft.
yeah, for real, right? So So it gets mundane. Like, oh, this new gear set came out. Cool, man. Like, whatever.
Like, oh my God, there's another electronic trigger. Tell me more.
yeah, right. Yeah,
I
right.
find that stuff very cool.
Well, you're a tech, right?
Yeah.
But like to me, it's just like, whatever, man.
There's another form of a Glock coming to the market. Oh my God, yes. We needed the Glock 54.
Yeah.
Yes. But this.
Which is a 22 caliber.
Is that it?
No, I don't know, but
Okay.
that's how Glock works.
I was going to say, like, the numbers get bigger and the rounds get smaller.
yeah, I don't
An
know.
M4 with Spike's tactical trademarks.
Yeah, right.
But actually, so a funny story to kind of agree with what you're saying. The night that we finally got mine installed, you had already left. That was the first night we had the phone call with RDX with install questions. Anthony looked at me after mine finally started working. He's like, you really are a kid on Christmas right now.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. I sent that video. There is a video of me the first time I'm shooting it in Anthony's shop, and I showed it to a customer, and he's like, that is the look of pure joy. He's like, you look like the happiest kid around right now. I go, I am. This is the coolest thing I've ever experienced with Airsoft. Like,
Yeah.
the B.O.S.S system, like, we cannot convey enough how awesome this is.
When I wired it to the Leviathan and I got it working, I felt like I just landed the first person on the moon. I was
Yeah.
like, fuck yeah! I was like,
Another moment, like, I have a video of this.
yeah.
Yeah, like, we have videos of all this stuff happening so we can show it for reference.
Like
because-
Jordan went for a high five and I was still in disbelief and I was just like, this is real.
This
It's
is
real.
real.
I did it.
Oh my
It's
God,
working.
it's happening.
Yeah, so it's an awesome product. And I think the cool thing is that I get to mess around with it and figure out all the different ways it can be attached to different types of circuits or guns that don't have circuits, and how to put those circuits in those guns, like the switch that we put in the Kythera. We may or may not be looking at the GHK M4 right now and figuring out how we can get the
Even
B.O.S.
though
unit.
the RDX website says do not put it on a gas blowback rifle.
Does it?
It does.
Why?
I don't know. It says, like, the very last line on the RDX XM203 page, it says not recommended for gas blowback rifle.
Recommend. It's just
probably-
recommend.
Hold on. I'm going to fact check myself.
Do you know why I think that might be the case? I can see it malfunctioning the gas gun because they don't really have strong recoil springs.
Or,
You know how you can limp wrist and like the gun can malfunction? I can see if that recoil is not in sync, how it can cause some like functional issues for the gun itself. Because once this thing goes, I mean, that's an explosion inside that chamber.
and then what's coming out
So-
of that barrel?
Oh yeah,
Yeah,
PB and
yeah,
gas.
maybe
yeah.
that's why.
So maybe on gas guns there should just be a very long can on it to extend past it.
Maybe.
Uh,
I think they might be worried about green gas if you're using green gas.
Then CO2.
Well, sure, but I'm saying with
Yeah.
green gas, dude. I mean, you've got an ignition source right next to a fuel source.
I want to be the first one to win a Darwin Award from putting this on a gas gun.
It's doable. I mean, both getting a Darwin Award and putting it on a gas gun, both doable.
Shooting it right next to my crotch.
oh, yeah. Okay, so the very final two lines on the XM203 page, hearing protection is required, not to be used on GBBR due to fire risk.
Yeah, so they're worried about the silicone. So if you were using CO2, obviously you're fine.
CO2.
Yeah, it makes sense now that I'm actually looking at, like
We can still try
the
it.
proximity of the barrel. And but if you had a can, I don't know. But if they don't recommend it,
Yeah.
then we probably shouldn't recommend it either.
Well, if they don't recommend it, that just means that they're safe. Science is going to happen.
That being said, we've said a lot of awesome things about the B.O.S. system. What are some downsides to it?
Oh, I have one.
Okay.
It's
So the very first thing that everybody's going to be like is the weight. How much does it weigh?
That's not a con.
No, it's not.
I think Mark said last night 1.9 kilos.
1.7.
1.7.
The weight's
the
not a
packaging was
con.
1.9.
Most people are more developed on their dominant side, and most people shoot guns with their non-dominant side holding that front end. So what you're really doing is you're balancing out your physique by putting more weight on the front end.
Well,
If
that's-
you're a righty, you're going to get your left arm a little bit more jacked running the B.O.S. unit. So to me, it's just like a skill-based issue if you don't like the weight.
Just for clarification, 1.7 kilos is 3.7 pounds.
Yeah, she's beefy, but she needs to be. But also, I feel like, so I had the ML36 as well from TAG.
I
And-
could look that up.
And I feel like this is comparable. It's not, you're not putting a cinder block on your gun. Is it more weight? Absolutely, it's more weight, for sure. Is it unmanageable? No. I played for 2 weekends already, and that weight disappears as soon as you pull that trigger.
You just have
yeah.
fun. Yeah.
Everything disappears as soon as you pull that trigger. So
It's like when you're like a child and you're on a trampoline, you don't realize how fucking tired you're getting.
yeah.
When you're an adult on a trampoline, you're like, I need to sit.
Yeah.
And the kids just can't understand it.
So according to the tag website, the ML36 weighs 2.5 pounds. So this is about a pound.
2.5. Okay.
That's not bad.
Yeah, I don't remember, to be honest with you. I sold that thing.
Now, if we're trying to get technical, that's 2.5 pounds without all the rounds you're going to end up carrying.
It's also 2.5 pounds that works in your backyard, but as soon as you go to a Milsim event, fucking
Man,
shit's out.
yours never wanted to work.
Mine never worked. Mine literally never worked properly for a single event. Not one.
I have one practical con, and then I have one metaphysical con.
Okay.
So the practical con is my gun doesn't stop firing when it's empty. So there were several occasions where I was empty and I had no idea.
Oh, me too.
And I was just shooting a blank gun.
Yeah.
And I was having a blast.
Oh, yeah.
But I was like, why am I not hitting that guy? Like, is my hop up messed up? No, I wasn't firing BBs.
Well, it's like when you don't have a boss unit on, your gun makes a different pitch.
Yes.
And so audibly you can tell that you're not firing. I mean, you can tell when somebody else's blank is, not firing BBs, but with the boss unit, yeah, you're right. I did that so many times, dude.
But it's still fun. I mean, so the boss unit has a God mode where it's really there for troubleshooting. So it just lets you fire the unit via one of the buttons on it. That way you can just make sure that it's not your wiring job that's making it not fire or whatever the reason is. It's just a bypass mode. But when you hold that button, it shoots full auto. So I was like shooting, but then when I was like getting pinned down behind a bush, I just put it on God mode and just did like a full auto blank burst at them.
Yeah.
Just to be like, So that was cool. Yeah, like it's hard to hear when you're empty, so that's one practical con. The metaphysical con is that it turned me into a shit softer. I don't care if I'm hitting what I'm aiming at. I don't care about conserving ammo. I just want to shoot the thing. I like the way it sounds.
Yep.
I like the way it jolts in my hand, and that has taken precedent over being an effective BB warrior.
Yes.
And I gave away my squad. I got my whole platoon killed because I fired at the wrong time.
I was firing at noises.
It's too fun. That's
Yeah,
the problem. It's just too freaking fun.
It was very rare that when I fired, I was just like, there is a man. I'm going to shoot him now. It was just like, where are they at? Over there? Bah, 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 bah. Like, just spray the tree line.
I suppressed more with this than I ever have using an LMG.
Yeah.
If I heard them firing from a direction, I would just pop out and just because I like to imagine that they were like keeping their head down, and maybe they were. I couldn't see. I couldn't tell, and whether or not it was working didn't matter to me. It was all about me.
Yeah.
It was all about how it made me feel.
You were the main character.
I was the main character. I want to put this on a Vietnam M16A1. Do the whole Scarface thing.
Okay.
Well, that was an M16A2.
I want to put this on an M16A2.
You do, bud.
Slaps roof of boss unit.
Yeah.
You know how much gas I can fit in this thing?
We don't know, actually.
Actually, yeah, we don't know.
We don't.
We know where the gas tank is. We don't know how much that holds.
Yeah.
I agree though. I feel like I should invest in Elite Force for the amount of 3.2s that I'm actually buying. I'm going to bump those stock numbers up. Like I have shot
running
more
2.5s because it doesn't matter.
Yeah, I have shot more BBs in the last 2 weeks playing than I have in the last 6 months playing here.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah,
But, dude, my pistol grip at the end of the last game on
was hot.
CQB was hot to hold because it was just
Ripping it.
Just ripping, dude. Just ripping. And I should probably knock that off. But
Yeah. You're going to go through brushes really quickly with PTW.
yes,
Yep.
1,000%. Yes.
Having a brushless motor in this one is like a huge benefit because the gun's really snappy too. So the trigger response of the gun, like the cycle time, is pretty much on par with the cycle time of the boss unit. So it makes sense. Jordan's Kythera, that's pretty much an instantaneous
say,
unit.
though,
It's pretty much in sync.
So most people like get a understanding for how much power the actual boss unit uses, because I've had some people ask that too. Like, well, how quickly am I going to go through batteries now? I am running mine off of a JST 250 mile lipo, and I still haven't killed the battery yet.
So I will say this though, Sunday, again, my pistol grip was burning my hand at the end of the day. So that tells you how much I actually used the battery. I accidentally left it plugged in overnight in my truck, and in the morning that battery was dead. I mean,
Well, also the PTW is going to do that. It's not just the
not
bus
not
system.
so much. I mean, yes, but not so much. I've left. I mean, my Titan battery, I charge once a month and leave plugged in for the entire month.
Oh, didn't
Right.
know that.
But this was the Spectre Arms LiPo,
Interesting.
and so I had to like wait before I could put it on the charger till it like naturally got back a couple volts.
Yeah.
Because it was dead. So you just gotta unplug your battery, dude. Now how does that now how would that be for instance we keep saying Milsom West because they're
Like a long duration op.
long duration op. My pistol grip was on fire. You know what I mean? Like it was hot, so that's how much I shot. So I don't know how much is just because I used the battery up shooting the gun.
Probably both. So the
Yeah.
B.O.S. unit, for people listening, when it's on, it is constantly drawing power from the battery.
Yeah.
It doesn't require a lot to stay on. But it has to stay on because the computer is there, it's awake, and it's listening. It's listening for a signal from your gun. So once it gets that signal from the gun, it knows to do its thing. And yeah.
It's got to be
So
very little.
if you leave it plugged in, you shouldn't leave your airsoft guns plugged in, period.
Yeah.
Like, not only is that not good for your batteries because guns with MOSFETs are going to drain your battery anyway. It's not really, it's like it could be a fire hazard. If you drain a LiPo all the way to zero, that's when they tend to puff up and turn into lithium bombs. And
I got down to about 2.8 volts.
yeah, you did the defibrillator where you just charged it from the main port until it had enough charge to be
No,
detected by
I
the
let it
balance
sit.
charger.
I let it sit because they'll regain a little bit.
Yeah.
And I just got it to sit long enough to my charger would charge it. But I don't know. I mean, that could just be because I fired 10,000 rounds that day. I don't know. But it's it's something to think about.
Yeah. I've been getting questions aside from how much it holds. People have been asking me, like, what can you wire it to? So
It's a simple circuit.
I guess for the record, we got it to work on a Kythera using its own independent circuit, and it's a really basic series circuit with a switch. On the Leviathan, you can use the pads on it. So Leviathan does have output pads and input pads. Essentially, the B.O.S. unit has a positive wire, a negative wire, and a signal wire. The positive and negative have to constantly be on. So you would want that connected somewhere on your board or in your circuit so that it's constantly getting power from the battery. And then the signal wire you want to put somewhere so that it's only getting a signal when the gun is fired. So when you install it, you're probably going to, one day it could be you because we're working on that. You want to probe around on your board and find that spot where you can put that signal wire so that when you do pull the trigger, it does in fact shoot. On the Leviathan, that signal wire is on the input signal pad on the top of the board, the top part that comes off for you techs that know that. And then the positive and negative are actually spliced onto the wires on the bottom half of the board that are the positive and negative. So getting that to work with this, it works on semi. However, when I shoot this on full auto, only the first shot registers. And then after that, it's just a full auto burst. So with this being a new product, it kind of opens the door for RDX to make a couple firmware updates so it could be more compatible in addition to whatever other aftermarket ETUs you might be using. So I'm going to contact Jeftron and talk to them about this unit and what it does and see if they can maybe make a firmware update where they can have a B.O.S. mode so that full auto can now also work with this. I'm pretty sure this can be wired up to a Gate Titan, especially the Titan 2s. The Titan 2s also have those input-output pads, so you can put things like a tracer unit, bolt catch, like a digital one that you press it and it tells the gun that it can fire again. Because those MOSFETs have cool features, and you can program them to do those things. Otherwise, if you have a basic circuit, like a stock AEG, or if you have a really basic MOSFET, it's very straightforward to wire that in. The only real challenge is figuring out where to route your wires. As far as the diagrams go, they're very simple. And anything that, and then you got it on your Sistema.
Yeah, the Sistema was challenging, mostly because there's no room to route the wires. That's just the Sistema issue. But I ended up probing the MOSFET in the buffer tube, And then that's where I found where the MOSFET is telling the gun, hey, you're in semi, hey, you're in full. And we just soldered the signal wire on there, and it freaking worked immediately. I mean, I had to ask you to do it because it was like the tiniest spot in the whole world to freaking
And
solder.
that wire
to.
is really thin.
The wire's really thin. I mean, that's a plus if you're trying to route wires. I mean, they're
tiny.
They're tiny.
I also think there's a way to make a wireless switch for it. Doing that would require having a battery on the B.O.S. unit itself in addition to your gun. And your gun would essentially have a transmitter attached to a switch, a very, very small one. And the B.O.S. unit would have a receiver. The battery on board the B.O.S., in my mind for this hypothesis, is that the battery on board the B.O.S. would give it the constant power it needs to be awake and to listen for that signal. And then that signal wire only needs a signal. And it can still get that juice from the battery that we would put on the B.O.S. unit. But the transmitter would be attached to a switch that'll be using the gun's battery. And basically, you'd have to just put it somewhere so that when that switch is pressed, it knows to send that information to the receiver. And it might be the form of Bluetooth. It might be the form of a radio signal. Although a radio signal, you might be able to shoot the gun with a bow fang.
Yeah.
Or you go to shoot yours and it shoots every B.O.S. system next to you.
Yo, that'd be dope.
Yeah, as like when you brought that up, the first thing I went was, this is going to be like that guy's push to talk. Because remember a couple weeks ago we had that issue where the guy's push to talk for his radio made his box mag wind.
So then we'll use
Yeah, that was
Wi-Fi.
wild.
Yeah.
Every wireless B.O.S. unit will have a mesh network attached to it that is unique to itself. It'll be encrypted.
Yeah.
Russia won't be able to hack it. And the reason why I'm thinking of a wireless switch is just because we were looking at a gas gun, even though it's not recommended because it's a fire hazard. We're talking about a gas gun running CO2 now, apparently. So
Allegedly.
Routing the wires is tough. What Dave had to do on his Sistema was basically route the wire outside the receiver.
Yeah.
And it works perfectly fine, but it looks
poopy.
it looks like a huge snag hazard.
Oddly enough, it has not been. But I agree with you. It's only time. Time will tell on that one. I'm actually thinking about when I go to Iron Horse, and this is a poopy solution, but this is just going to be my solution: is get some Gorilla Tape and just like tape it to the side.
Just zip ties all over the gun.
It's too important. Like, again, I don't know if I can play Airsoft without this thing. So I don't even care that there's a tiny wire going.
Yeah, like
I don't even care.
It doesn't look the best. It also doesn't look the worst.
Yeah.
I just agree with Anthony that I feel like at some point in time it's going to get snagged and ripped.
Absolutely, 1000% it will.
I will say receiver-wise, the VFC receiver seems to be a very perfect fit as far as routing the wire, because where the upper receiver and the lower receiver meet, where that front pin goes, there actually is the perfect gap for that wire to go into, where you can route it through your magwell like you would any front-wired AEG. So it's out of the way of the mag and the magwell.
Yeah, just to be clear, like it was only with the Sistema that I had to route the wires outside of the body. All the AEGs and even your Kythera, right?
Yeah, my Kythera is a VFC body though.
So everything's wired through the body, so you don't see that at all. And actually, if I took the time to like Dremel some shit out, and like I could probably make it fit.
I was ready to Dremel your Sistema.
Nope.
I was ready for it.
I was ready to go out and fire it.
Yeah. Yeah, Dave really wanted to shoot it.
Oh yeah, I have literally been waiting for a long time for this.
Yeah, no, I get it.
But
I was the same way.
But just for everybody listening, like hearing that the wires are outside the gearbox, I'm like, yeah, gross. But it was just my particular Sistema because I was impatient and didn't want to sit there and Dremel out. But every other one that we installed, Anthony installed, all the wiring is in the gun, so you don't even see it.
Yeah, I mean, different platforms they'll have different levels of difficulty depending on just how many holes you have and where do those holes lead to. I imagine an AK would probably be very easy because
you can park a truck inside.
Yeah, most Airsoft AKs, like that whole top cover, you can get it into the handguard and just get that through there. So that seems like it'd be very easy. Once you install a couple of them, you pretty much know what you need to know to install them onto anything. The way that it works is very simple as far as where it gets its power from and how it knows when to shoot. So that's very nice.
It's also really responsive too.
Yes.
Like
yes.
Tyler was using Jordan's Kythera. Jordan doesn't fire super fast. Tyler fires in freaking hyperburst in semi-auto, and I was behind him while he was firing, and the boss unit kept up with every single shot that he took. It was pretty incredible. I don't really have a fast trigger finger, so I didn't think I would ever max it out, but Tyler was ripping, and the boss unit kept up.
I maxed this one out by bump firing it.
Oh.
So there, can we talk about the buffers that it comes with?
Yeah, we can.
Yeah. So
Doesn't come with both bump.
Yeah, so
both
that's
buffers.
a correction we have to make after talking with RDX. While ours did come with both buffers, the full production runs are only coming with the aluminum buffer. The steel buffer will be offered as an additional upgrade.
Yeah.
okay. So yeah. So like he just said, we got a heavy and a light buffer. Basically, what's different between them? How's the boss unit going to behave? So the light one will let you go to a higher rate of fire. I think the max is like 1,200 RPM.
1,200.
That's what I advertised. So Zulu LMG limits is 1,200. So
Perfect.
pretty much any compliant LMG for Zulu, you'll have the boss unit matching the rate of fire of your gun, which is nice. The heavier one doesn't let you get as much rate of fire, but it is heavier, and this is actually what gives my gun enough recoil for it to bump fire, which is really nice.
And by saying that the heavy one doesn't give you as much rate of fire, we're talking like if the aluminum gives you 1,200, then the steel one gives you like
1,000.
Yeah, or like
It's
950
to 1,000.
Yeah, like it's
You just get the added kinetic feedback of the felt recoil because you do have more felt recoil with the steel buffer as opposed to the aluminum buffer.
yeah.
But out of the box, the aluminum ones, honestly, you might get better performance long term. You might get better gas efficiency. You might not degrade the seal as quickly.
Oh yeah,
because
1,000%,
the aluminum buffer is not going to be putting nearly as much stress on all the parts to begin with.
I theorize we can put way more stress on the unit to get it to a higher rate of fire with a heavier buffer if we change the spring out, but that would be something that would
void your warranty and
definitely void the warranty, but it's something I'm not opposed to doing one day for science.
That being said, though, when Anthony says he maxes out the rate of fire, the unit actually beeps, and it makes an audible beeping noise when you've maxed out your rate of fire in semi, and it was basically it telling him to stop because you're doing too much.
It's saying, Anthony, you're doing the most. Stop it. It's a Gen Z computer in the boss unit, so it says say less and you're doing the most. It says things like that.
Did we talk about the firmware updates they're going to be making to the boss unit?
Oh, we did not. Actually, I just got that email today. So one of the modes or whatever is God mode, right? You press up, hold it, and you can just fire the unit by pressing a button. Part of the firmware update that they just did, you can put it into silent mode. Okay, so you just press and hold on the bottom on the rate of fire down button until it beeps. You'll get a green LED, and then it basically doesn't shut the unit off, like the brains are still alive, but it stops the unit from firing. So, for instance, if you go to an event producer, a game, and they're like, you can use the boss unit outside, you can't use it indoors. You don't have to take it completely off your gun. You can just press and hold this. That'll shut the unit off, and then once you're outside of a building, you just tap one of the buttons, and boom, it's right back on again.
Prior to that firmware update, if you want it to go on a silent mode, you take this USB-C chip out, and this is where I lose it in the grass, and then I can't fire my boss unit anymore. This is a key that actually allows it to fire, but also through this USB-C port, that's where you can plug in a USB-C cable from your computer and upload firmware updates.
Which is also another correction we had to make from the video. They are not individually serialized.
That's right.
So if you do lose it, yes, your boss unit won't work for that moment, but they are going to be selling replacement USB-C drives.
And they're like hyper cheap.
Yeah, I think he said the estimated was like $10 or $15 American. The other update to the firmware is going to be a semi-auto only mode, because part of the problem with the Kythera, because we used a very simple micro switch to wire it up, I can pull the trigger on the Kythera once and it will fire one BB. But if I hold that trigger down, the boss unit doesn't know it's in semi, and it will fire full auto until I release the Kythera trigger. So for other mechanical systems like the Kythera, the N7 Milsim, other HPA systems that are entirely mechanical, pushing all the way, or no, it's not pushing all the way down. It's going to be an actual thing you can switch over when you're doing the.
Oh, so that you have to actually connect it.
Yeah,
through the USB-C to your computer. It gives you like a little menu. and you can adjust settings on there. And one of the settings was just semi-auto,
Yeah,
true or false, or whatever.
Yeah.
And the way that we kind of hacked it for Jordan's gun is the proper way to pull a trigger is to release it instantly. You don't want to hold it. That's bad shooting habits.
Yeah.
Right. So he, in our mind, we're just like, well, he's just developing a good habit. If it's shooting semi-auto, he's doing the right thing.
I don't know. Some people would argue follow through on a shot.
Yeah.
They-
You know,
it depends on the person. So we
that's
just
a whole other
turned-
thing. And then we turn,
we just turn the rate of fire down on the unit so that as long as I release the trigger in a timely manner, I only get one shot, which I personally like because for a game like Milsim West, then I don't have to put the unit into God mode to fire full auto. I could just fire one BB and then get full auto blank fire. But I know there are some people that are going to hyper fixate on it, and they're going to want their system to be perfect. So one BB per trigger pull, one B.O.S. unit cycle per trigger pull. So RDX was nice enough to do the firmware update for us.
And they did it fast.
Yeah, like
we talked to them last night.
like it's Tuesday at 6 p.m. and we talked to them Monday at 6 p.m. and they already did it.
Yeah.
I was ready to like program a microcontroller so that
Anthony was
so
talking
all
about,
all
like,
of that
Arduinos.
all of that semi-auto brain stuff would happen like in the gearbox, and they beat me to it. Thank God.
Yeah, because
'Cause-
alternatively, what if like we can do firmware updates? What if we just ask them to make an update?
Yeah. Yeah.
and,
So,
and actually, Mark and Shane from RDX have been extremely responsive. We've had multiple video calls with them
They're super helpful.
when we were having problems with the wiring, and then also just making suggestions about the unit itself after playing with it for a couple weeks. They're super nice guys. I mean, actually, I've met 4 people from New Zealand, and they were all nice.
yeah.
And 50% of them were named Jono, which is strange.
If you go down the street and meet 4 random Americans, they're
Yeah,
not going to be nice.
You're rolling the dice on that one. If you don't get stabbed on the first one, probably by the third one, you're getting stabbed. So
Especially in New York.
yeah, but yeah, man. I think that's. I mean, we could sit here and talk about, well, this one time I shot a guy.
Yeah.
But I mean, realistically, look, if you are looking to reinvigorate your love of airsoft, the RDX B.O.S. unit is where it's at, man. I mean, I get it. Doesn't fire a projectile. It doesn't fire a 40 mil. But actually, if you've got 40 mils, you're sitting on gold bullion right now anyway.
I mean, but in reality, again, like we talked about before, most airsofters have 1 or 2 main guns that they really like. They've already invested a bunch of money into having a well-shooting AEG or gas gun or Kythera or PTW or anything of that nature. All this is going to do is take the gun that you already like using and make it way more fun.
Oh, man, you could put this on a trash gun and have a phenomenal day. Honestly,
I will take a combat machine and have Anthony wire it up. You want to try that?
Dude.
We'll put it on a combat machine. Dave, go out there and play with one.
Dude, I'm a Sistema snob, and the reason why, and for most of the reason why, is just because AEGs sound clunky and stupid to me. They don't sound efficient at all. Cue every airsoft tech like, man, you haven't shot my gun.
Well, actually,
It's just
happened.
it's just my preference, right? But throwing the B.O.S. unit on, you don't hear the gun, so it just doesn't matter. It just doesn't matter,
Yeah, you don't hear your airsoft gun anymore.
No.
I put a helical bevel and pinion in this gun, seemingly for no reason at this point, because I'm only going to use this with the B.O.S. unit now.
Yeah. But if you're looking to step your if you're looking to reinvigorate your love for airsoft, this is the bee's knees, man. It's the way to go.
Yeah. Like I said earlier in the year, I was starting to get bored to the point where I was just building 2, 3, 4 different uppers for my gun.
Yeah.
Because I love my Kythera and it shoots really well, but I was getting bored. Nope, sold. B.O.S. system. Yep.
The other thing too is coming soon.
Yeah. We can say some things, not some exact dates or some things, but it's coming sooner than you think. What's going on, guys? It's Jordan. We got to make some corrections to what we were saying here at the end of the podcast and fill you guys in on some stuff. So, Zulu Outdoor is now the official Northeast distributor for RDX Technologies in the United States. That's super cool, but what's even better is that on June 24th at 6 p.m. Eastern Time on the Zulu Outdoor website, pre-orders for the B.O.S. system are going live. Now, there is only a limited number of units, and pre-orders are going to be open for 2 weeks. Now, this is a made-to-order run. So once pre-orders close, the units go into production. There is a 6 to 8 week lead time on them being produced and shipped to the United States. Once they're here, they're going to be on their way to your door within 5 to 7 business days. That being said, expected delivery between end of August and early September. We're so excited this is finally happening, and we cannot believe that it's happening this fast.
Yeah, I'm excited.
Oh God, I'm so excited. I want to say everything that we know, but we can't.
Yeah.
And it's not because we're trying to gatekeep. It's just because things haven't been finalized yet.
Yeah.
So when they are, yes, you're going to know. But soon.
We'll be very loud about it when.
Oh, yeah.
things
I
change.
get it.
Yeah. Pun intended.
It'd be the whole campaign, loud and proud. You know.
The thumbnail.
Maybe we'll work on that.
It is June.
Oh shit! It is.
We got through an hour without making a joke.
There you go. All right.
And we got to make a pride joke.
All right. Well,
I'm so excited. I'm sorry, guys.
yeah.
Do you have the applause on there? The applause button?
Just be guessed. Just hit
Big.
one.
That was,
No.
Nah, that wasn't it.
that
All right.
wasn't it.
So with that, unless you guys have anything more to say, I
No,
think
this'll-
I want to do round of applause for RDX.
Nope.
Nope, not that one.
Wait, I'll get it. You gotta let that one.
Bad engineer.
Got it.
And now cue the gameplay footage.
Yeah. Shout out to.
I
RDX.
really have to label these. There's 9 of them, and I always forget which
Oh,
one's
there's
which.
there's like 4 pages, so you can put a lot more than that. Anyway, without further ado, guys, let's wrap this thing up and keep an eye out.
Yeah, keep an eye out.
It's
Coming
coming.
soon.